This story is about an apex predator loose on campus, and the only one who doesn't run is the janitor. But when the beast sees him, it stops. It remembers him. What follows isn't a battle, but a moment that changes everything. The alarm pierced the morning calm of the Galactic Peace Academy. Sirens blared through gleaming corridors as students and faculty alike froze. A voice echoed overhead. Containment breach in Sector Gamma. Repeat, predator on the loose. Panic cracked like shattered glass. Soldiers in cerulean body armor stamped down the hallway, weapons drawn. Alien cadets, some 3 meters tall, others with tentacles or wings, scurried for cover. A luminous professor slammed shut the door to a genetics lab, dropping her datapad in the process. The massive double doors of the engineering wing clanged shut. From a distance came the roar of something colossal. Through the chaos, one man stayed in motion. Marlon Booth, the academy janitor, wheeled his mop bucket and cart, not away from the alarm, but toward it. His steps were steady, deliberate. He didn't run. He didn't stop. He simply went where others fled. No one noticed the janitor until he passed them in a blur of grit and calm. A squad of armored guards blocked the corridor, rifles raised in trembling unison. "Janitor!" He paused, but didn't slow. A tall Renorian warrior, blades at her hips, shoved him aside. "Go back," she barked. He kept going. The tip of his mop trailed behind. He reached the skeleton of a lab that hadn't yet been locked down. The door lay open. Inside, test chambers were smashed, consoles flickered. On a central monitor, gray blood leaked into a containment grid. Marlon cocked his head. The roar grew closer. Not survival panic, rage. He set his bucket down and dropped his mop, leaving it upright. The beast emerged. Thick-muscled, 3-meter tall, scales like chipped obsidian and eyes burning with prehistoric intelligence. A maw wide enough to swallow a training drone whole, bristling with serrated teeth. Students screamed. Marlon didn't flinch. He'd faced real monsters, not class terror exercises. The creature's nostrils flared and it looked around, jaws clicking, tail flicking shards of concrete. A cadet shoved a translucent force shield between themselves and the predator. It shattered like glass. The beast advanced, claws gouging tiles, growling. The janitor stepped forward, as calm as if sweeping. A soldier gripped him, but he shrugged the soldier off. Time seemed to slow. The hall echoes. The creature locked eyes with the janitor, and it paused. Marlon's jaw tightened. His mind flickered to years ago on a crimson, war-torn world in uncharted space. He'd found the beast there, wounded, half buried in wreckage, bleeding. He'd cleaned its wounds, strapped a makeshift tourniquet. While others wanted it dead, Marlon insisted it lived. He'd nurtured it, and when it regained strength, he'd watched it stalk away, vanishing into alien night. Now it recognized him, just as he recognized it. The beast's growl softened. The rest of the hallway stood hushed. Soldiers frozen, cadets wide-eyed. The beast took a step closer to him. Its eyes were no longer mad, they were questioning. Marlon reached a hand up, slowly, deliberately. In that moment, the hallway shifted. The academy held its breath. "Remember me?" Marlon's voice was low, graveled by age and memory. The beast tilted its head. It let out a low rumble, almost soft. It advanced gently. Panic drained from the onlookers. Some stepped back, others sank to the floor. Marlon took a few steps back himself, eyes locked on the creature. The beast obeyed, mirroring him, never taking more than a graceful stride. A soldier broke and shouted a command. 2 guards raised their rifles. Marlon flashed them a look sharp enough to freeze them. The rifles lowered. Seconds stretched. Then the beast turned. It slowly, carefully exhaled. It nudged a heavy slab of concrete blocking another corridor, clearing a path. It bowed its massive head, stepping away. Marlin followed. The students and professors watched, slack-jawed. The beast moved with surprising gentleness given its size. Its roar had become a low grumble of recognition, not rage. It walked beside him, protector to lost shepherd. They passed locked labs and broken glass until they reached the outer training grounds. The beast's pace slowed. They both stopped, facing the academy behind them. The sun caught dust and debris, haloing the creature. Marlin rubbed his jaw. The beast glanced at him. It took a breath and turned away. Steps away. Into a nearby wooded enclave that the academy had never tended. Trees older than the campus itself. Marlin watched it go, the monstrous hunter melting into dappled shade. He lifted his mop. Silence blanketed the grounds. Students and staff stared at each other. Then, the siren cut off. Marlin looked at the mess of tile and shards around him, then at his mop. He started sweeping. No questions, no applause, just sweeping. A young cadet edged forward. "Sir, are you okay?" He looked up, tired. "I'm fine." The cadet swallowed. You saved it?" "I did," Marlin said simply. He swept a shard of containment panel under the dustpan, long time ago. The cadet studied him. "You were an assassin?" Marlin paused. Then he leaned on the mop. "Used to be." The cadet nodded, eyes wide but respectful. "Thank you." Marlin nodded back. An ordinary man sweeping an extraordinary moment into history, unremarked but enduring. By the following morning, the academy was still reeling. The creature had vanished into the nearby grove, leaving not a single broken branch in its wake. Drones skimmed treetops searching infrared patterns, but the dense forest offered nothing. Inside the campus walls, repairs began. Broken glass swept up. Crushed doorways measured. Reinforcements planned. But one question echoed louder than the sirens ever had. Why had it stopped? And why had the janitor walked it out? Marlin Booth didn't answer questions. He took an extra 10 minutes to mop the East Wing atrium, not because it needed it, but because it gave him quiet. He noticed fewer students darting through the halls, and more eyes tracking him from behind half-closed doors. Some greeted him now, a few saluted. He ignored it all. He cleaned up bloodstains in the genetics wing without a word. He patched a floor panel where the beast's claws had left a perfect line of punctures. When Professor Deline, a translucent-skinned, four-armed lecturer in neural logic, nervously asked him how he'd known what to do, Marlin just said, "Didn't." Word traveled fast. That same day, he was summoned. The head chancellor's office was sterile, too white. Glass walls looked down on the entire campus. Chancellor Vuro, a thin, floating species whose expressionless face always unsettled guests, studied Marlin without blinking. "Your records," Vuro said, "are vague." Marlin didn't speak. Earthborn, enlisted in 3 off-world contracts, left service. Joined custodial application cycle at GP 12 years ago. No commendations, no complaints. Marlin shifted on his feet. "I mop. And yesterday you approached a hostile apex predator, recognized it, calmed it, and walked it out of the campus without using force." "I mopped," Marlin said, "then walked." Chancellor Vuro's eyes flickered. "I don't like mysteries in my institution," Vuro said. "You are one." "I clock out at 6. They stared at each other a long moment. Then Vuro dismissed him with a wave. As Marlin left, a figure stood waiting outside the office. Slender, silver-furred, tall even for her kind, Commander Velish, security chief. "You're not just a janitor," she said. "No one ever is," he replied. "I pulled footage from the forest perimeter. I didn't touch the beast." "That's the problem. You didn't need to." Her ears twitched. "You're from Dagon 6, weren't you?" Marlin's back stiffened. That planet was under biosanctions. No survivors were listed from the East Trench operation. He looked her in the eye. "I survived." She stared a while longer. "We need to find it before someone else does." Marlin leaned against his mop. If it remembers you, she said, it might come back. 2 nights later, it did. Not with fury, with silence. A sensor grid near the horticulture dome pinged. The cameras showed nothing. The heat signature vanished and reappeared closer to the dormitory. Marlin was asleep on a cot in the janitor's wing when his comm buzzed. He rose, already pulling on his boots. Back in the woods, he asked without preamble. No, closer, Velish's voice said. Main quad. It's looking for something. He didn't ask what. When he stepped into the open air, floodlights were already sweeping the courtyard. Cadets stood back. Security teams were positioned, but rifles weren't raised. The creature stood near the old fountain. It looked smaller somehow in the moonlight, less rage, more focus. Marlin walked straight up to it. It turned, eyes locking on him, and this time it didn't growl, it chuffed, a low rolling breath that sounded like recognition. You came back, he said. The creature dropped a bundle onto the stone. Marlin stepped closer. Wrapped in shreds of military netting was a length of torn cloth earth fabric, camouflage green, sun-bleached. His old field pack. He hadn't seen it in 15 years. The creature had carried it all this time. Velish's voice crackled in his ear. Marlin, it brought something. Are you seeing this? I am. Don't move. I'm authorizing a neurobehavior scan. No, Marlin snapped. You'll spook it. I won't risk. You'll spook it, he said again, and tore the comm off. The creature edged forward. It nudged the pack toward him. Then it sat, not like a beast, like a sentry. Marlin lowered himself beside it, unzipped the pack. Inside were 2 water purifiers, a rusted photo case, and the cracked remains of an old harmonica. He pulled it out, stared at it, didn't think you'd remember. The beast made a low, breathy huff. It almost sounded amused. Not many of us left, Marlin said quietly. It shifted, muscles rippling. And then, like a whisper of tree bark, it made a noise, a mimicry. The 3-tone predator growled, a perfect replica of Marlin's old army unit's 2-tone call sign, the one they'd used in the Dagon trenches, the one only 6 people had known. Marlin's hands trembled slightly. You were listening even then. The creature stood slowly, eyes on the trees. It looked at him once more. Then it melted into the forest again, disappearing. This time it left no trace. Marlin sat alone under the stars, holding a cracked harmonica and more silence than any man should have to carry. By the end of the week, the grove surrounding the academy was cordoned off. Sensor towers rose overnight. Drones made endless passes overhead. Students weren't allowed near it anymore. The faculty called it the perimeter. But none of it mattered. The creature had left no tracks, no scent, no signal. Marlin knew it was watching, he could feel it. He worked quietly that morning, repairing the northern access tunnel. The impact cracks from the predator's earlier rampage were still visible. Every time his mop passed over one, the vibrations shifted, subtle but present. He crouched and pressed a hand to the floor. A deep thrum echoed beneath the concrete. Not seismic, not mechanical, rhythmic, like breathing. Commander Velish approached from behind, silent as ever. You feel that too? He stood, nodding. We ran a resonance sweep, found hollow spaces beneath the sublayer. Girls? He asked. She hesitated. Or tunnels? Marlin rolled up his sleeves. What's the academy sitting on? Old-growth forests, pre-expansion era. Nobody cleared below level 3. We never needed to. Until now. She handed him a datapad. The scan lit up with arteries of empty space. Winding, looping, branching. Some dead-ended, others ran beneath buildings. You think it's nesting? I think it's learning the campus, she said. And waiting. That evening, the mess hall was half empty. Conversations were clipped. Security escorts flanked the entrances. Even the boldest cadets ate faster. Marlin sat alone with a tray of soup he'd barely touched. Across the room, a young technician named Runa caught his eye and walked over. She sat without asking. They want to kill it. I figured. They're saying it's only a matter of time before it attacks again. It hasn't hurt anyone since the breach. That doesn't matter. It's not predictable, and it's not ours. He looked at her. Nothing's ours out here. We just act like it is. She fiddled with her spoon. What is it to you? He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his coat and slid the cracked harmonica across the table. It remembered this. After 15 years, you tell me what that means. She stared at the metal. Memory, emotion, attachment. But that's not science. It's sentiment. He took it back. Science didn't fix the war either. The next day, it came back. Not during the night. Not cloaked in darkness. Midday, bright sun, clear skies. In the central courtyard again. This time, it stood before the monument, a large obsidian spire honoring peace and unification. Students gasped and backed away. Security scrambled. Alarms didn't even bother sounding. Marlin dropped his mop the moment the alert came through. He sprinted this time. By the time he reached the courtyard, the creature was waiting. But something was wrong. It limped. The front leg was pulled close, shoulder crusted with a dark matte sheen that didn't reflect light burn damage. Something chemical, something recent. Marlin moved slowly. He saw the wound and knew it hadn't come from anything in the forest. "You've been shot?" The beast lowered itself with a grunt. It didn't roar, didn't snarl. It exhaled heavily, sides heaving. Security formed a perimeter but didn't advance. Velish's voice buzzed into his ear. "Booth, stand back, you're in danger." He ignored her. He crouched beside the beast and touched the damaged scale. It flinched but didn't move away. The injury wasn't superficial. Beneath the blackened skin, the muscle was torn. The wound was too clean for an accident. "Someone hit you with an alkaline round," he muttered. The creature wheezed, muscles twitching. "They're hunting you." Behind him, boots approached. Med teams, armed guards. Marlin turned and barked. "Back off. You want this courtyard covered in blood again?" Velish arrived in person. Her rifle wasn't raised, but her eyes were hard. "It came back injured. If it's fighting others, it could draw predators to the academy." Marlin stood. "It didn't come here to hide. It came here because it trusted me to help." Velish's voice dropped. "Then help us. Let us take it to a secured lab." "No labs, no restraints." "Marlin, I've seen what labs do." Silence. Long, cold. The sun burned high above them, but no one moved. Then a slow voice cut through it. It was the Chancellor, descending from the observatory level, floating down with deliberate stillness. "You suggest we offer asylum to an apex predator?" "I suggest we honor the values etched on that spire," Marlin said, nodding to the monument. "You teach diplomacy, peace, trust. Let this be a lesson. And if it dies?" Marlin knelt again, pressing gently on the creature's flank. "Then it dies knowing someone saw it as more than a threat?" He pulled out his old utility knife and cut away the charred scales. The wound festered beneath. He swore under his breath. "I need antiseptic, burn salve, cold compress." Runa was already running back to the infirmary before he finished. Marlin dug out the wound carefully. The creature whimpered but didn't strike. Blood oozed, slow, tarry. He wrapped the leg tightly in gauze from a medical pack that someone silently offered. No heroism, just slow, painful care, like before. 3 hours later, the beast slept, curled near the monument. Security backed away. Velish stayed. "You know this isn't over." Marlin wiped blood from his hands. "Nothing ever is." The grove was quiet again. 2 weeks had passed since the creature collapsed near the monument, and during that time, no alarms had sounded. The students returned to their routines, cautiously at first, then with mounting confidence. Patrols stayed in place, but the tension had ebbed into wariness rather than fear. Marlin had built a makeshift shelter at the grove's edge. Not a cage, just an open lean-to with reinforced beams, stacked mineral blankets, and a low canopy to shield from the binary suns. The creature rested beneath it each afternoon, slipping away into the trees at dusk and returning just before dawn. Its injuries had healed slowly. The chemical burn had required precise antiseptics, daily rinsing, and 2 rounds of dermal stitching, not easy on a creature that size. But Marlin had worked with patience that matched the creature's trust. He never moved too fast. He never brought anyone too close. The beast never lashed out. The Chancellor called it an unprecedented exercise in interspecies empathy. The faculty published papers, cadets submitted observation logs, but Marlin didn't care about any of that. He sat with it each evening on a log by the grove. The beast would stretch out, rumble softly when its joints ached, and watch the stars. "Still haven't told anyone your name," Marlin said one night. "I call you Bandit, but that's just because of the way you used to swipe rations out of my pack." The creature shifted, a low growl echoing in its chest, a soft one. "You remember that, huh?" The wind stirred the trees. "I don't think they'll let you stay." It didn't respond, but its eyes narrowed slightly. "You haven't hurt anyone, but you scare them. And they're starting to talk about moving you to a controlled zone." The creature turned its head toward him. "I won't let them sedate you. Not again. Not after what happened back in the trenches." He looked down at his hands. Scarred, calloused. "You could run. You've tunneled half the damn campus. They'd never catch you." But the creature didn't move. It let out a slow, quiet sound. Not a growl, not a chirp. Something else. A question. Marlin sighed. "You're not hiding anymore, are you? You're waiting." The next day confirmed it. A scout drone patrolling the southern ridgeline was found torn in half, not by the creature, by something bigger. The security logs showed erratic heat signatures in the high forest, acidic tracks in the underbrush, biotech weapon traces, a species that didn't belong. Velish was the one who broke it to Marlin. She met him at the grove, eyes grim. "There's another one, not like your friend. This one's a hunter class, aggressive, territorial." He glanced at Bandit. The creature had already risen, muscles tense. "They tracked him here," Marlin said flatly. "Or they followed the injury trail. Either way, it's coming. Tonight." He stood slowly. "You're going to let it get here? We've got aerial cannons covering the perimeter. If it breaches, it'll be too late." She held his gaze. "I want you clear of the grove, now." But Marlin didn't leave. That night the stars burned cold above the academy. No wind, no birds, no distant hum of student activity. Just silence. Marlin waited near the lean-to, Bandit crouched beside him. The creature was tense, scanning the darkness. Marlin gripped an old rifle, dusty, out of date, but functional. Not that it would help much. The first sign was smell. Sharp. Sour. Then movement in the tree line, just a shimmer. Then another. It came fast. 7 meters long, armor-plated, spines along its back. Not sentient, just hunger wrapped in weaponry. Bandit roared and launched forward. The two collided in the grove with earth-shaking force. Trees cracked, soil flew. Marlin circled wide, heart pounding. Bandit fought with brutal precision, snapping at joints, avoiding the creature's acid-coated fangs. But the hunter was built for war. Its jaws clamped onto Bandit's injured shoulder, forcing a roar of pain. Marlin fired. The round pinged uselessly off the hunter's plating. He ran closer, drawing its attention. The hunter pivoted toward him. "Marlin, get out!" Velish's voice thundered from the perimeter, but he didn't stop. He shouted and threw his empty canteen, clanging it off the beast's side. That was enough. Bandit surged up and bit down on the base of the hunter's neck. A sickening crunch. The beast writhed, then collapsed, twitching. Bandit staggered back, chest heaving, blood its own dripped onto the leaves. Marlin rushed forward, catching its side. "You did it, you got it." Bandit looked down at him. It lowered its head, touching his chest with its muzzle. Then it turned, walked into the trees, slow, not running, just going, and didn't come back. 2 days later, Marlin sat alone outside the grove. The shelter was empty, the harmonica rested in his lap. Bellish joined him quietly. "We scanned the forest, no trace." He nodded. The Chancellor signed an accord. They're designating the area a protective sanctuary. Non-interference. He nodded again. She hesitated. "You could have left that night." "I owed it something." "We all did." She stood and left him there. The sun set behind the academy walls. The stars returned. And far in the distance, past the trees, something rumbled. Not a threat. Not a warning. A farewell? Marlin smiled faintly, leaned back, and let the sound carry him.